In this video, you will learn how to read and analyze cladograms. First of all, what is a cladogram? A cladogram is a diagram that shows the relationships between seemingly unrelated organisms that share certain traits. These shared traits really lead scientists to believe that the organisms may have shared a common ancestor. Taking a look at this cladogram, you will notice at the top there are some different organisms. These are the organisms that have shared traits on this diagram. Sometimes cladograms will have cute little pictures like this one does, and sometimes they will just have words. At the bottom or along the line, sometimes they are written right on the line, and sometimes they might be written along the bottom. These are the traits that the organisms may share. In this particular one, the organisms would be bipedal, no tail, hair, amniotic membrane, lungs, and jaws. These are the traits that the organisms may have on this cladogram. Now, to analyze this cladogram, you need to look at the nodes. The node is the place on the cladogram where the line comes out. It breaks out from the node. That means that anything before that node, that particular organism has. In this particular case, there's one organism on here that doesn't share any of these traits. It does not have jaws, lungs, amniotic membrane, hair, no tail, or bipedal, and that's the lamprey. That is called the out group. It does not have any of the traits that are listed on this diagram. Now, to analyze it, to figure out which traits each of these organisms have, you have to look again at the node. So I can see that this break is right here. That means that the lizard has amniotic membrane, lungs, and jaws. I can also see that the salamander, outbreak is right there, has only lungs and jaws. Another important thing to note is that organisms that are very close to one another share very similar traits. So if I asked which organism on this cladogram is the most closely related to the human, I would try to figure out which one has the most shared traits. Well, because the gorilla is right next to the human, they're going to have the most shared traits. The gorilla starts here. Everything behind it, the no tail, hair, amniotic membrane, lungs, and jaws, are all traits that are shared with the human. So on this particular cladogram, the human is most related to the gorilla. Now, opposite that, the least related is going to be the one that shares the fewest traits with that organism. So if I asked you which one was the least related to the human, you would probably tell me the lamprey, because the lamprey does not have jaws, lungs, amniotic membrane, hair, no tail, or bipedal, and the human has all of those. So the farther apart they are on a cladogram, the least related they are. The closer they are together, the more related they are. The last thing we need to really look at on this cladogram is how to describe each of these organisms. If I want to describe the human based solely on this diagram, I would say the human is a bipedal who has no tail, but has jaws, lungs, hair, and an amniotic membrane. That's an easy way to describe a human based only on this diagram. I could also say the tiger has hair, amniotic membrane, lungs, and jaws. That's another way I could describe the tiger on the cladogram. I might also say the lizard has an amniotic membrane. That is a true statement. But if I said a lizard has no tail, that would be an incorrect statement. So any trait that is on here must come before the outbreak or the node of that particular organism. Right, go ahead and answer the questions on your reteaching. Please ask if you have any questions.